And welcome back. Serving as the third largest Holocaust museum in the world and the second largest in North America, the Museum of Jewish Heritage is committed to the critical mission of educating diverse visitors about Jewish life before, during, and after the Holocaust. The museum maintains a collection of more than 40,000 artifacts, photographs, documentary films, and survivor testimonies. The Museum of Jewish Heritage, a living memorial to the Holocaust, will launch a new virtual field trip for school groups coming up in November. And joining us now to share a little bit more is the president and the CEO of the Museum of Jewish Heritage, a living memorial to the Holocaust, Jack Kliger. And Jack, good to have you.
Thank you, Darren. Good to see you. Nice to be here.
Good to have you. And listen, for those people who may not be so familiar with the museum, as we said, third largest Holocaust museum in the world and the second largest in North America. Talk to us about how this came about.
The museum was an idea that was started in the 80s, and it took quite a while to become a reality, but it was really the brainchild of a number of Jewish leaders in the business and professional community. Robert Morgenthau, the district attorney, Manfred Orenstein, George Klein, a number of business and civic leaders who decided that New York, with one of the second largest Jewish population in the world, needed to have a memorial to 6 million in the Holocaust, and also a teaching institution that would not only remember but educate. And that is the twin pillars of the mission that were defined: remembrance and education. And we take those principles very seriously. The museum opened in 1997, and like BronxNet TV, we'll shortly be celebrating our 25th anniversary. And we've become a very serious participant in the idea to educate and teach, particularly students, about history and what hate can do and what hate did.
Yeah. And when we talk about hate, one of the things that we will definitely focus in on for a moment is the Holocaust. And a lot of your work and work that goes on is about Holocaust education. Talk to us about the importance of it and why you feel it's important that people know about the Holocaust.
Well, it's important because the Holocaust was a result of centuries of anti-Semitism that was finally combined with a very intelligent, educated, and will that translated into mechanized and systemized killing, who went after people, not just Jews, but gypsies, homosexuals, disabled, who were considered the other and who were considered inferior. And what is interesting about it is not just that it was a manifestation of a lot of different forms of hate, but many of the principles of racial superiority and scientific racism emanated from the United States, with a eugenics anti-immigration movement that came about in the early 1900s. So this is not a specifically one nation's use of prejudicial information. It was how it was organized, but there were a lot of inputs to it. But the bottom line is that no event captured the ability of people to do the kind of evil that you've got to be taught and become sort of inured to. And so it's a lesson in how hate became not only systemized, institutionalized, but then acted upon by a whole nation, by a continent of people.
And when you talk about Holocaust education, I want to take a moment just to go here because you offer this course, and this course is on Holocaust education. But I understand that the course is already sold out, and people have really gravitated to it. So talk to us about how do you feel about having this course sold out, and also is it going to be offered again since so many people want to know?
Yeah. Well, there's two elements to our education. There's one, it's our educational curriculum that we do in cooperation with the New York City school system. We are actually part of the New York curriculum to teach Holocaust history and education and fighting anti-Semitism and hate. In the 8th grade and 10th grade of the New York City school system as well as private schools. So students are a very important factor for us. And last year, before the pandemic hit, we had over 60,000 students go through the exhibition with guides and teachers. And adult education is also an important part of that, not only groups, but field trips. And we have now instituted a virtual teaching curriculum and podcast, as well as virtual field trips for people to go through two programs we put together. And we've also done adult education courses. That's the one that sold out quickly. Five session course that we will repeat, but it's basically about hearing about the Holocaust from both actual witnesses as well as teachers. So we take it on a lot of different fronts, but we start with teaching 8th and 10th graders part of a very important historical lesson, and trying to teach them that there were three types of people during the Holocaust other than victims. There were perpetrators, there were bystanders, and then there were upstanders. And we want people to know that they have to be not just not perpetrators, but they should not be bystanders. When they see evil and hate, they should do something about it.
Yeah. And so I know part of your education is really taking people through virtually now, as we've all had to navigate through COVID, right? We're navigating through COVID and a lot of people are having to do things virtually. So you've got these virtual field trips. So what are the virtual field trips that you got, and how can a person take a virtual field trip?
Oh, well, first of all, they can all go to our mjhnyc.org/education, and they can find all of their opportunities there. But we've created two field trips to start with. One is about the Holocaust, and one is about immigration. The one about the Holocaust, life during the Holocaust, is about a 20-minute field trip that we put together, and it's called Meeting Hate with Humanity. And it takes from artifacts and parts of our exhibition, and then with our education department doing a narrative about it. We also, for students, have a version without a narrative where it's a Q&A between the teacher and the student. The other one is Love Thy Neighbor, which focuses on the immigration experience in the US, which is, of course, a very important part of the story of before, during, and after the Holocaust. So those two are the two first virtual field trips we launched. And then the adult education is, the part of that is something called Those Who Were There, Voices from the Holocaust, which is a 30-minute episode featuring first-person testimony. So we've ramped up pretty strongly. All of this has been done in the past 8 months since COVID related issues forced us to shut the museum, which we've now reopened on a partial basis. But nonetheless, we find that whereas in prior years, prior to COVID, we had roughly 200,000 in-person visitors to the museum, including students, with the past 8 months, just on virtual platforms, we've had over 100,000 people interact with the museum. So we've really tried to build out beyond the walls, and one of our core efforts has been in educational and teaching materials.
And before we go, please give the address for where if people want to actually come by the museum when things work out. Talk to us how they can get to the museum. Where is it?
We're down at Battery Place, 36 Battery Place, right near the #1 train. In the shadow, we face both the Statue of Liberty and the Ellis Island immigration. We're at the southwesternmost point on Manhattan Island in Battery Park City. And y'all come down, and we're open Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. You have to have a pre-purchase ticket online because of COVID. We don't have any walk-up tickets, and we don't take groups, but it's a great place to be, and we'd love to see you all. And I'd like to invite you personally when you're able to come down and come through the exhibition. Right now, our big exhibition that we have is the Auschwitz Exhibition, about obviously Auschwitz, and the largest exhibition about concentration camps ever in North America. That'll be here through May of 2021. But you know, many of the lessons that we're talking about, the teaching tools we're talking about, are about artifacts from the collection. But there's never anything like seeing the real thing. You know, we've got,
Absolutely.
you
Absolutely.
know, you can watch a game or you can play a game.
Yeah. Well, I'll make you this promise that if we get life, health, and strength, I will make it down there once COVID is over. Jack Kliger, thank you so much for being with us here on Open.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here, and stay safe, stay well.
You stay safe as well. All righty. Now, if you want more information about the museum, we encourage you, please visit the website, mjhnyc.org. Once again, mjhnyc.org. We have more Open coming up. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back right after this.